Welcome to Cape Fear Business Roundtable. I'm Frank Williams, and today we have my friend George Murray with us. George, thank you for joining us.
Well, you're welcome. It's
And
good to be here.
as you guys will find out, George has one of the more interesting career paths that I've ever seen. But before we get into that, I do want to mention our two sponsors, which are my two businesses. One is Pioneer Strategies. We're a PR and communication firm. We can help you with your marketing planning. We can help you with a new logo, brand identity, new website, digital advertising, and traditional public relations. The other company under the same roof is Pioneer Specialties, which is a promotional products company, and we have access to over 1 million products from 4,300 suppliers worldwide. And that's a lot of products, and we can research things you don't even know to look for, and we'll take it off of your plate so you don't have to worry about it, and you can focus on running your business, and we'll handle the products. And you can check those two companies out on pioneerstrategies.com and pioneerspecialties.promo. And yes, that's the correct domain extension .promo. With that, George, thank you again for joining us. And obviously, we live in a fast-growing area here. I know you were, I believe, the first business in Waterford here in Leland, is what you like to say. So tell us a little bit about how you got here. And there's lots of new people. Are you from here, or did you move here from somewhere else? And and how'd you wind up in Leland?
Well, we after I graduated from UNCW, I took a job in Wilmington actually, and that carried me to a job in Rocky Mount as a financial analyst for Body Knoll Enterprises, which is a Hardee's franchisee, and I was with them for about 14 years. Um, they had a subsidiary called Zip Marts Incorporated, which
Okay,
had convenience stores all over North Carolina and a
I think I
couple of
remember
Virginia.
those.
Yep. I was a controller for them. And again, they were a subsidiary of Body Knoll, the Hardee's franchisee, and they ended up getting promoted into their corporate office. But we were in Rocky Mount, North Carolina for 14 years. And then my parents um, had some health issues, and we made the decision to move back to Wilmington to help them out.
Right.
So I got a job basically with as region controller for waste management, and after 7 years, got recruited by Waste Industries, and I went to work as a region controller with them for 7 years. And after that, Frank, I got so tired. I enjoyed the corporate world immensely, the companies that I worked for. But I felt like I was 55 at the time, and I just wanted to have my own business. And we were living in Magnolia Greens, and we've been there as of today about 23 years in Brunswick County. And I wanted to open up my own business, and the Waterford area was growing. There was nothing on 17, but one little strip center where Port City Java is now. You're
Right.
familiar with that, and across from Walmart. And I went in there one day. I had an office as region controller for Waste Industries. I had an office down at Chandler's Wharf, downtown Wilmington. So every morning I would come out of Magnolia Greens and pass this strip center that was not finished. There was not even a
Right.
parking lot. And I'll give you the cliff notes. I ended up talking to them, and I built a business plan for a custom frame shop because I did a little bit of art on the side and as a hobby. And I've signed a lease with them and resigned my position with Waste Industries. And I'm a self-employed entrepreneur overnight, and so that's I was there in Waterford for 8 years, and decided to move over to Brunswick Forest because it was a new building area. So I got into that and started doing signs and banners as well. So I stayed in Brunswick, or excuse me, yeah, Brunswick Forest, in the commercial side. I stayed there for 8 years, and after that, I decided to get, you know, I didn't need the custom framing, so I just went into signs and banners, waiting for my wife to retire. And it was one of those things. Whenever she decided to retire, I was just going to sell the business and go out and play golf. But when she after 27 years as office manager for a dental practice in Wilmington, same dental practice, she did not want to sit home, and she couldn't help me in the signs and banners. So I said, well, I'll sell the business and we'll do something together. And we had always talked about an ice cream shop, and we added popcorn to it in the business plan. And it's probably one of the best moves I've ever made. I wish that I'd made 15 years ago. But again, 15 years ago, this area was not ready for a retail space
Right.
or a business like that. It may have been the timing was perfect for what we did 2.5 years ago with the ice
And
cream
I
shop.
think the timing was good, but I also think that it takes the right person behind the business to make it work. And just to give you my synopsis of your career path, you went from corporate controller to turning your artist hobby into a profession, and we'll come back to that. Then now you do ice cream and popcorn. That is the most unique career trajectory I think I've ever seen. But we'll come back to the current business. But tell us a little bit about your art for the Andy Griffith Show celebration and that stuff, that things
And
you've done there.
when I was with Waste Management, I had 7 territories with them, and I was traveling a lot. And I got a phone call on the way home. I think I was coming from Charlotte. I got a phone call from this gentleman that introduced himself. I can't remember Sheldon's last name. I remember first name Sheldon. He was the I had drawn a lot of the Mayberry characters, and I put them on a little internet site, little website, and it got some attention. I wasn't really trying to sell too much off of that. It
Right.
was just a hobby. And this guy Sheldon turned out to be Don Knotts' agent,
Hmm.
and they were doing Don and several of the characters of the Mayberry group, Andy Griffith Show, were doing a fundraiser in Kingsport, Tennessee. And he wanted me, they contacted me to kind of do some characters that were going to be there so they could sign the prints that
Right.
I did. And so I told them I wouldn't charge them for it. I was honored that they would ask. And again, along with Sheldon was Don Knott's agent was the guy that was organizing the event in Kingsport, Tennessee. It was at a 5-star resort, and they were doing the fundraiser for Children's Miracle Network.
Okay.
So that's why I volunteered to just donate it. So I shipped all the prints to them so that the celebrities could sign them, and then they invited Phyllis and I to be there as a special guest. So I got a chance to meet a lot of the characters at that event, and I went back the next year and did the same thing. But I got to know a lot of them personally. Used to get Christmas cards from George Lindsay, who was Goober. He'd send me a Christmas card every year, but I always supplied him with his images, his portraits as well. But through that association, I got to be known as the Mayberry artist. A lot of the gentleman that wrote 2 books on Mayberry, the Andy Griffith Show, Jim Clark. You can look him up. He became a good friend, and he kind of labeled me as probably the best artist that he had ever seen with the show. He's actually the one that organized their reunion when Ron Howard and all of them
Right.
got together. He was the one that organized that. But I kind of stayed in touch with a lot of them, Frank, over the years through different charities and stuff. But then they did an article on me in the Brunswick Beacon and called me the Mayberry artist, and I was a little worried that I might be getting too far into having to live up to that. But anyway, that's how I got involved with those folks. But I've done a lot. I've done probably close to 200 celebrity portraits. A lot of golfers that I donate the prints to the local golf tournaments and stuff. I still do that. So, but that's been the fun part of my life. I've always enjoyed drawing portraits, and I could go on and on about a lot of the portraits I've done over the years for different things and different people, but mainly for charities.
And you've definitely got a talent for it. And I believe some of your portraits that you've done are able to be viewed in your current shop, correct? Correct? Aren't there a few of them
Yeah,
displayed there? And that's
yeah.
a great segue. You do ice cream and popcorn now. Tell us the name of your business, who else works with you, and where people can find you.
Well, we're on Village Road in Leland, North Carolina, right behind Domino's Pizza. That's the best landmark I can
Yeah.
give you. But we named it Mimi and Papa's Gourmet Popcorn and Sweet Shop. Mimi and Papa came from where my grandchildren, Jordan and Chandler, that's what they called us when they were growing up. We were Mimi and Papa.
Right.
And so when we decided on a name, excuse me, when we decided on a name, that just seemed natural that we call it Mimi and Papa's. And it's turned out to be a good name because we've had a lot of customers come in and say, we're Mimi and Papa too. And of course the kids that come in there now, the regular kids that come in there will actually call us Mimi and Papa. They'll say, "Hey mom, hey Mimi, hey Papa." So it's a warm feeling to know that the kids start recognizing us. But that's where we are, and of course the website is meme all spelled out, Mimi and Papa's popcorn.com. And but anyway, that's where that came from.
And you mentioned how the timing was right, and I think the timing was good, but you're a little off the beaten path in Leland. You're not on Highway 17 where everybody thinks everything will be. You're in Old Leland, as we call it, and I grew up here, so it's a little bit of a different area. But before you did that, you had your sign shop, your frame shop, and you also were president of the chamber. You were founding president of Rotary, and I had the opportunity to serve with you. So you have certainly done a lot of things in the community, and I think that's part of the reason it was successful is everybody knew you. I think if it was someone who started it that didn't have the connections you have and had not done the things you've done, it might not have taken off the way it did.
Well, I have to agree with you. We can't thank the community. Really, I could say Brunswick County instead of Leland. We cannot thank them enough for their loyalty, and I think a lot to the fact that I've been in the community for 22 years, and done a good service to people and that sort of thing. And I think reputation has a lot to do with the success of a business, as you well know.
Absolutely.
And we carried that forward, hiring when we first got started with the ice cream and popcorn. If I can take a second to tell you about this,
Absolutely.
when we first started with it, it was going to be Phyllis and I, meet my wife Phyllis, and who is Mimi. We're going to basically run it and just hire people to help us with it. As it turned out, my daughter, who is she has a financial background with the bank, and she actually went back to school, got her teaching degree, and went into teaching. And so she was teaching, third grade in the Mecklenburg County area. Well, and her husband worked for Truist, and our granddaughters, of course, live with them. When they found out about us doing the ice cream and popcorn shop, they wanted to come down and help us. So my daughter Misty and my granddaughter Jordan came down, stayed with us for several months while helped us design the inside of the building, some of the ideas of how the layout was, and some of the marketing stuff. And they got so excited about it for us that we just said we wish you could stay and be with us all the time. So they worked it out, and our son-in-law worked it out with Truist so he could come to Wilmington and work from home, and so it all worked out. So that's how we inherited Misty, my daughter, and my granddaughter Jordan to come, and they literally run the business for us. Phyllis and I, Mimi and I, do all the popcorn. We cook before they open the doors. So it's been a good partnership with our children. And So that's a part of the success too, because they
Absolutely.
have warmed up to the customers. The children love them to death. They probably know more about them than they do us. But anyway, that's probably the most important part of our success. Um, we've recently gotten UNCW, all the athletics for UNCW. They loved it so much for the basketball. It did so well with that that we've gotten their baseball season and also soccer, I think is what it is.
And what are
And
you doing? Providing popcorn to how much? Tell us what you're doing there for them.
we do the medium bags, which is just a 4 cup bag of popcorn for caramel. We do caramel and a couple of different ones, cheddar and I'd have to ask Misty what the other one was.
Six to seven cups in those bags.
What?
So 6 to 7 cups in those bags.
Oh, there's 6 or 7 cups in each bag. I'm
Okay.
sorry, my manager just corrected me.
They do all their sports concessions.
Yeah, and we
And
do their
drinks.
sports concessions and
Okay.
their pods in UNCW, but they we tried to talk them in initially into our caramel, which is our number one seller, and they held off on that until they tried it out, and now that's on the regular
Now that's the
order
regular
for
thing.
them.
Yeah.
But
Whoever makes the decisions must have liked it.
no, oh yeah, they sure have. And to add to that, we just got a call last week from I can't remember what David's last name is. He is with the Wilmington Sharks president, and we're going to be talking with them tomorrow about doing the popcorn for the Wilmington Sharks.
And so obviously there's the retail side, but then that's a whole different side of the business where
Exactly.
you
Yep.
can work with people who have venues or events and help them out as well. And so
Without a
certainly,
doubt.
for anybody listening to this, that's if you have any of those kind of opportunities, reach out to George or Phyllis or Misty, and they can help you out with that. And
Without
you
a
know,
doubt. We do weddings, gifts for realtors, those kind of things too.
And the popcorn's a great gift. The ice cream doesn't hold up as long. I have to eat that a little more quickly when I get that. But I'm partial to the ice cream myself. I've tried
Yeah.
multiple flavors and love the different flavors you have. And it's a great place to have an event. If you're looking for a place to take your employees for a break, or kids or family or out of town guest, it's a great place to go.
Well, it is. We just had a guy that he's local that wrote a book, and he did a book signing
Okay.
today. So, but anyway, it's all we have some kids parties and stuff like that. So, because we've got that room with the tables and chairs, and that's
Is there anything else you want to tell us about Mimi and Papa's or about any of the other businesses that you've had over the years?
um, no other than I had a friend of mine that I play golf with every year. And he came up to me one year. We were in Myrtle Beach, and he opened up his golf bag and he pulled out this handful of business cards, and they were all mine. And he said, "You," he said, "you've had more jobs than any friend I've ever known."
But the difference is a lot of them you were your own boss at all those different jobs. It
Yeah.
wasn't that you hopped job to job. You started multiple businesses, and and
Well,
and they all succeeded in one form or another. A lot of people do that because they didn't succeed, but yours were all successful, and you did what you wanted to do when you wanted to do it.
yeah, and I can honestly say that. When I first opened up in Waterford, I had a lot of young entrepreneurs coming to me asking me why I did it, how I did it, and what advice I could give them about location and all that kind of stuff. I could name them. I could literally name a
Yeah.
half a dozen right now, but I won't do that on this podcast.
Well, in a minute. I do want to hear some of the advice, but I like to also talk a little bit about non-work related things. So, obviously, we've talked about the business, but apart from work, what is your either favorite thing to do or favorite place to go in this part of the state that you enjoy doing?
Well, Phyllis, Phyllis and I have taken several vacations over the years. We haven't been able to because of the opening up the shop. It has literally taken a lot of time. But I play golf. I love golf. I used to play an awful lot. And again, because of entrepreneurship, that kind of that eats into that time. Unfortunately, I'm getting older and
That
I'm
happens
running
to
out
all
of
of us.
time. So I got to find some time for recreation. But I would say golf, and I would love to get back into drawing. I would love to do some portraits inside the shop if I had, carve out some time where people could watch me draw. Misty has tried to get me to try to work something like that out where I could be in there drawing a celebrity or somebody, and let the kids and parents come and watch me draw. But
That would be
drawing
an
and playing
interesting
golf,
event. That'd be different than I don't know another ice cream and popcorn shop that could offer that.
well, that's true.
I mean, that's a pretty unique thing that it'd be, they could bring in an outside artist. I don't know of another one that could have the owner doing that kind of thing in their shop.
Well, it'd
That's
be
just
fun.
unique. Uh, well, just you mentioned advice and entrepreneurs coming to you. If you were talking to somebody who was starting out in their career today and they came and said, you've obviously been successful. What advice would you give me? What would you tell them?
Um, just remember that the customer does come first. And that's what when you open up that business, that's what your target is you've got to have a great feeling towards that customer and trying to provide a good product, be dependable, do what you say you're going to do. And also on the
Absolutely.
financial side is not be undercapitalized. Don't go into a, a 5 year lease and you only got 1 year of lease money in the bank. You need to know,
Right.
your financial situation before you go into committing, your business to that.
Absolutely.
But I mean, other than that, and pick a good location. The location. I mean, you can't beat it. Um, but a lot of times with our situation in this area, and I'm just going to speak for Leland in this area, the lease arrangements here are so high
Yeah.
that if you haven't got a good business plan and you hadn't figured out that you can cover that lease, it's very difficult. And
Absolutely.
especially if you've got to hire employees, all that matters. And if you can do a lot of it yourself, and to try to build that capital and get that money coming in the bank, you're better off
Absolutely.
starting small.
I think that's where your finance background probably was invaluable to you as you moved into being an entrepreneur. You'd seen those types of things on a larger scale, and if somebody comes into a business without that background, they can get themselves in trouble if they're not careful. I mean,
Big time. And you're right. And I've actually seen businesses open and close around here
absolutely.
before that lease is up. And I'm sure that a lot of them just left in the middle of the night. And it's sad. And you
It's
feel for them,
it's a and there's a difference in income and expenses and cash flow.
right? Exactly.
It doesn't matter what's on your books. It matters what's in your bank account when you need to pay that bill. And that's, to use a marketing analogy, I've seen people start a business and go out and spend all their money on things like a website without knowing what they need the website to do.
Right.
And then one of them, unfortunately, years ago, his website didn't do anything it needed to do, and he didn't have the money to redo it.
Yep.
And that was, similar. They jumped ahead without having a plan. And whether it's a marketing plan or a business plan, there's something to be said for planning ahead and knowing what you need to have in order to accomplish what you want to accomplish. Uh,
Without a doubt.
and what have you learned during your career that you wish you had known the day you got out of college?
That's a great question. Um,
Probably there's a lot more than one thing.
yeah, well, I think I think one of the things that I'm gonna go back to the business plan and being undercapitalized and that sort of thing. I think a lot of people don't realize what their tax situation is.
That's true.
Those are surprises. I mean, you've got, I mean, an entrepreneur or a small business owner, a lot of people don't realize how many taxes you've got to pay. You got property taxes, sales tax in retail, sales tax, you got payroll taxes, you've got employment taxes.
Hmm.
And if you don't build those into your business plan, it could be disastrous because you could be making your bottom line, but if you're not, putting that liability for sales tax off on the side and you're spending it in
Absolutely.
operating, and again in 2008, I can honestly say that happened to me. It took me a little while to catch up, but I mean it's not it wasn't always
Yeah.
hunky dory for me. So
Every business owner I know has had ups and downs.
yeah,
I knew a guy in Raleigh, and I'm not going to say what kind of business it was, but he had a business partner, and he was the sales guy, and his business partner was supposed to be the finance guy. And his business partner went several years without paying their sales tax before he realized it, and they lost their business because
yeah,
it was a few $100,000 that they owed in sales tax, and they didn't have the money to pay it because it just caught up. I remember how surprised I was when I first got my first business personal property tax bill. I'm like, what is this? And they're taxing you on paper clips and desks and chairs and office
yeah.
supplies and everything else. And that's probably to me my least favorite tax that we have to pay because I spend as much time trying to figure out what I have as I do actually paying the as I would paying the bill.
Yeah.
And don't get me on that soapbox. We'll be here all day. Was there anything
That's like
else you want to
signs.
share in general that you think people ought to know about you or the area or your business?
Um, I'm gonna digress and tell that person that wants to open up a business better check the sign ordinances.
That's true as well. And make sure you know what permits you have to have. I've seen
Yep,
people go build things that they shouldn't have built.
that's right. Yep.
And I'm going to talk about the importance of dealing well with people because that's something I think you have a gift at that, and people like you. You make people laugh is one thing that you do, and I think that's one of the reasons you've been successful in everything you've done. And I've seen people who start a business, and you walk in, and you almost feel like you're bothering them.
Yep.
You walk in, and it's they say they're giving customer service, but you feel like you are trying to talk to the Grinch, and it doesn't go well, and people don't go back to places like that. And it's tell us about just how your view of the importance of dealing with people and probably liking people if you're going to be in a people facing role.
Well, I think I probably should have mentioned that earlier. I think that your attitude toward your customers, you got to make them feel welcome and at
Absolutely.
home and comfortable being in your place of business. Um, I do. I get silly with my humor and all that kind of stuff. You've seen me in Rotary,
I have
uh,
absolutely seen it.
and but that's just a part of me. I've always tried to be the silly guy in the room, and
It comes pretty
especially with
naturally to
kids.
you.
And it's funny. I can there, I'll say something humorous in the ice cream shop to these young kids that come in there, and there's just a stoic look on their face, and it's like they just don't get my humor. I'm just, I'm not on their level,
They'll
but
catch
yeah,
up eventually.
but having a sense of humor and being able to take one of the best, if I can say this on this podcast, one guy that always makes me laugh is David Sink with
Yeah.
Meineke.
Yes.
He's a Rotarian, as you well know. We're
Absolutely.
in the
I
same
spend a
club.
lot of money getting my oil changed at his place.
Yeah, David is one of those guys that always makes me laugh. He's always got something really cute to say, and I try to do one better than him, but sometimes I can't do it. So,
It's by way of an analogy, there's a hot dog restaurant that I frequent when I'm in Raleigh, and I started going there right out of college, and actually have been going there 32 years this year, which is hard to
oh
believe.
goodness,
And yeah, the hot dogs are good, but it's because I like the owner.
yeah,
I mean, that's half of it. I can get hot dogs at the grocery store.
Yeah.
But I like to go in there because, I almost feel like I'm part of that, like Norm at Cheers or something. But I
Yeah.
know I'm not the only one there because the same people that were eating there 30 years ago, I still see them.
Yeah.
And the relationship. I don't know that it would be that way if somebody else came in and tried to take it over. With the possible exception of his son, who now helps him run it, and they've got that connection with him too.
Well, it means a lot to make just like I said, it makes you feel as an entrepreneur, it makes you feel good that people come in, remember your
Absolutely.
name, and say what you did for me the last time was just absolutely great. And that's a good feeling I get too. And when I'm in the ice cream shop, I have signed customers and custom
Yeah.
frame customers that remember me from those businesses almost 20 years ago. I don't remember what I did for them, but
But
they
they
do,
remember.
and they remember. They'll say things like, you did me a fair price, and you were always friendly, and those kind of things, and that means a lot. I'm not just talking about and I've my daughter and my granddaughter and Phyllis are the same way. And Chris, my son, works with us part time. He's over the top friendly. I mean,
Okay. Yeah, I've
he
seen
is
him at other
he's got
places as well.
my personality big time
Absolutely.
with that. Sometimes he gets carried away,
Well,
but
that's
he's
better than the alternative. It's better than somebody who
exactly,
bites your head off when you come
and I
in.
say that as a compliment to
Yeah.
him. But
And it makes people feel welcome, and you want to feel like you were wanted when you walk into a business, like they want you to be there and you're not a bother. And
exactly.
well, last question, and this is more of a personal question to close it out. What types of movies or TV shows do you typically like? I know that's something you said you enjoy, so tell us what kind of things you enjoy watching.
Um, To be honest with you, Frank, I mean, we've watched like everybody. We binged watched so many things on Netflix and stuff like that. There's such a variety out there now.
Absolutely.
It's more than three channels anymore, and three networks. But we watch a lot of those like Yellowstone and
Yeah.
those kind of things. I kind of like to watch the Dateline and to kind of keep one up on my wife and make sure she's not finding out just how she can get away with doing away with me.
And just block out Criminal Minds. Don't let that show up on your screen.
Okay.
And we watch a lot of the crime shows, and it's gotten to the
Yeah.
point now I've seen them over and over, and it's hard to find one where we haven't seen the episode, which is maybe a hint that we need to find something else. But
Well, can I tell you? Can I tell you one quick story?
sure.
Um, we were watching Dateline one night. It's been a couple of years ago, and Keith Morrison was the moderator or whatever you call him, the
Host or whatever.
journalist. And it was a murder about a nurse that killed her husband, and this was in Morgantown, West Virginia. And the reason I remember the city is because that's where Don Knotts is from,
Okay.
Barney. And so they go through the story, and they had her as first suspect and all that stuff. And anyway, at the very end of the show, Phyllis and I are just watching the show, and as the credits come up, Keith Morrison is doing his little monologue at the bottom. He said, Morgantown, West Virginia, that little sleepy little town. And the whole time he's talking, they're panning downtown Morgantown, West Virginia. And they come on the little village shops and stuff as he's talking about who would have ever thought that nurse would have, da 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 da. And they panned in on a gift shop and they zoomed in on a drawing that I did of Barney
Oh
Fife.
wow.
It was in the window of this gift shop.
You can't
That's how
beat
they
that.
ended it.
That's an awesome. That is
That's a
classic.
true story.
That is. Did you go back and rewind it to watch it a few times?
Yeah, I've been trying to find it on YouTube, but
That's classic.
we both came up off the couch.
Uh, you know,
Anyway,
my friend that owns the hot dog stand that I mentioned in Raleigh, he was at Disney World 30 years ago, and was at Disney World, and ESPN had gone in there to interview Chris Corchiani and Rodney Monroe that played at State, and he's at Disney World and sees his restaurant on the big screen out at Disney World.
Oh God.
So same kind of thing. It's like, wait, how did that get there?
Yeah.
Most people would they would never realize what the restaurant was, but it was just a funny little thing. Well, George, thank you for taking the time to join us today. It's always a pleasure. I'm sure we could talk for another hour or so,
Probably.
but we do appreciate you joining us, and everybody who's watching this, we appreciate you tuning in. If you want to follow us on any of the podcast platforms or YouTube, you can do that at our website, capefearbusiness.com, and we appreciate it, and I hope you'll listen again next week. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Frank.
George.